Hello everyone and welcome to SkShadow. Welcome back to another F1 video. So this time we are at Austria for the Austrian Grand Prix. So we've got to schedule some activities first off. So we've got a couple of days to do it. So we could do GeForce training, chassis or sponsor event. This time I think I'm going to go for the chassis team building. This is simply because if we go to the chassis section, you can see that the morale is poor, so the team building is designed to hopefully bring their morale up a little bit. But first off, I'm sure you've seen in the thumbnail, we have a new livery for our team, so it looks like that. I think it looks pretty cool. Adam helped me pick it as well. So yeah, that's the new livery, but we'll go on to the power unit section now, and you can see that our control electronics bit is on 61% wear, which we don't want because that will wear all the other components. So we're going to apply a new one of those, and hopefully that should see us through the Grand Prix. Development wise, I'm going to do a turbo durability option, so that's going to cost us 575 resource points, and to be honest, the more durability we do the better, because we want the least amount of penalty points. Looking at the standings, we are 5th in both the drivers and the constructors, so that's where we are at the moment. And then weather wise, it is dry for both qualifying and the race, which is fantastic. If we have a look at the progress history, we are still second to last at the moment, just below Alfa Romeo, Haas and Renault, but it's all pretty close in the midfield section there. But we'll go straight into qualifying. So the aim in qualifying at the moment is probably just to try and get into Q2. That would be the most ideal. So for that we need to finish 16th or above to be able to get into Q2, because that's going to give us the best shot of points as we go wide on these last two corners of this lap. But we crossed the line with a 104.570, which after fast forwarding a little bit puts us 15th, and our teammate with a 104.889. So we are into Q2 at the moment, but I do go out and do another run just to see if I can go just that little bit faster, maybe gain a couple of attempts just to secure it. And then at the end of the session, I managed a 104.372, which put us 14th, and our teammate didn't actually improve. And then in Q2, I did a 104.560, which is a little bit slower, but that has put us 14th, which I think is very good to set us into the race.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. The grandstands were a sea of red in 2019 thanks to the commemorative hats in honour of the late great Niki Lauda, who took home victory of course back in 1984. And it's a sellout crowd once again here today.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So it sounds like Jeff reckons we're going to get into the top 10. I'm not so sure, but looking in the strategy, the projected and personalised are the same, just slight differences in the time. And then for fuel load, I'm just going to stick with 37.1 laps of fuel, just, you know, so we have that little buffer to be able to go into rich. But we wait for the 5 lights. And we are off. We get a reasonable start. We've got the overtake on. We're just behind Kvyat and just ahead of Vettel because he got a penalty. Trying to go around the outside of a few cars there, but we get squeezed a little bit, so we have to back off, and that allows Vettel to go for the overtake on us. So we've now got Vettel ahead and Ocon behind. As you can see, Ocon is about a 10th behind, so we're having to defend quite heavily against him. We go a little bit deep, which means we get a little bit of contact with Vettel on the outside there. We've still got Ocon sticking very, very close behind. He's about 3 tenths. We're going to try and think about going for the dive bomb Vettel, but we think otherwise. And now Ocon's coming up our outside. As you can see, we are wheel to wheel going through these couple of corners here. But we do just manage to make the squeeze and stick it out ahead of Ocon currently. Again, Ocon is side by side. and going into this corner, we just about managed to outbrake him and still side, but we keep the position. Once again, as you can see, Ocon is being a bit of a pain, as he has been in most of the races that we've done at the moment. He seems to be very much our biggest rival. We've got Vettel and Kvyat ahead, the soft runners up there. I really don't think we're going to be catching up to them anytime soon, so I imagine the majority of the race is just going to be a fight with Ocon.
DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you are within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
As you can hear, DRS is now enabled, which is going to give Ocon a little bit of help in trying to overtake us, as obviously we are nowhere near Vettel or Kvyat, so we don't have DRS ourselves, so we're just going to be having to use a lot of the overtake to attempt to get past.
We're leading our teammate by 4.2 seconds. They're on fresh softs. They're in 22nd. The time last lap was a 1 minute 9.5.
As you just heard from Jeff, our teammate is in 22nd, so he is in last at the moment. I don't know whether he had a terrible start or something, but that is no good. Hopefully throughout the race he can try and gain a few positions. You just saw me there having a look at our gearbox wear, because the control electronics unit that we literally replaced at the beginning of this weekend is already on 14%. And up ahead, the trio of cars up there, as you can see, are having a bit of a battle, with Kvyat trying to get past the Renault Ricardo. Not quite doing it though, and we've got our own battles to be dealing with Ocon behind now, and Raikkonen's actually quite near behind as well. He is managing to stay with us with the little DRS train that we're creating at the moment, but we are still managing to just about hold on to 14th place from Ocon for the meantime. As you can see, he's coming up or outside at the moment, just trying to get past us, but we do manage to squeeze him out. We out-traction him a little bit. And again, out-traction him into this corner, and we actually keep the position for the meantime. And just behind us, you'll notice that Raikkonen has actually got past Ocon and is now coming up to try and get past us. But again, our car seems to have a little bit more traction on slow corner exit than those two, so we are using that to our advantage to try and stay ahead, which is working a little bit. We do have to be a bit careful with the amount of overtake usage we're using, because we don't want to be running out of that near the end of the lap.
You'll be on the hards.
As you just heard, Jeff said it is nearing our pit window, so we should be going into the pits around lap 13 to put on a lovely brand new set of hard tyres, which I imagine most of the soft runners are going to be trying to go onto as well. You might have a couple of people doing a two-stop, but in Austria it's pretty much a soft to hard strategy, unless you've started on mediums, and then you're probably going mediums to hards anyway. So yeah, we're all pretty much doing a one-stop, so I don't think we'll be gaining too many positions based on strategy, as we have done in previous races. While we watch Raikkonen still getting very, very, very close, and actually gets pretty much, well, ahead of us, but we brake very, very late, lock up a little bit, but it doesn't really matter too much because it allows us to stay ahead of Raikkonen for now. But you can see the arrows showing that he's staying very, very close to us. So going into the second to last corner down here, I imagine he'll be trying to overtake. Not quite though, using...
In this lap, push now.
As you can hear, it is our in-lap, but at the same time, we've got the Red Bull coming out of the pits, and he just about managed to get ahead of us. But that's a good thing, because it means we're able to nab a little bit of DRS on this straight here, which, as you can see, has put us over a second ahead of Ocon now. Obviously, we were supposed to come into the pits this lap, but I just completely forgot, and we carry on. And thankfully in lap 14 I actually do remember to go into the pits to put on our new set of hards, and into the pits we go with a 3.1 second stop, so not too quick, and our slow stop plus us forgetting to actually pit has put us behind both Ocon and Raikkonen now. So we've lost 2 positions by staying out an extra lap, which is no good for us. I mean, we weren't fighting for points anyway, so not really that big of an issue. But if you look behind us, P19, we've actually got a Russell on softs. So unless he hasn't pitted yet, which I'd be surprised, I have a feeling he's on the a 2-stop for some reason. But you can watch us here, making an easy pass on Raikkonen with a bit of overtake, DRS and rich fuel mix. And we actually set a purple sector 1 for good measure at the same time. So now it's a hunt to try and go as fast as we can to get past Ocon. Here's Raikkonen going for another overtake on us. He seems to be, he seemed to like going for the dive on that corner, but every single time we stick to the racing line, and generally that means we can push him out a little bit.
11.4 seconds. They're on old hards. They're in 21st. The time last lap was a 1:8.7.
So that's Jeff telling us our teammate is in 21st. So in 22 laps of the race, he's only managed to gain 1 position. To be fair, we've actually lost 2 positions from our starting position, but you know, he's battling with the likes of the Williams and the Haas. So it's a little bit disappointing that he's not managed to get any further than 21st currently. So I'm very much considering just saving our money and going for another teammate at the halfway point rather than spending any money on facilities. That there was Russell going into the pits, which is not good for us because he was holding Raikkonen behind, who is going for the dive bomb, and he's still on our side, but again, traction wise, we managed to out traction him and stick with it, and just a little bit of overtake on there as well, just to try and keep the position from him. As you can see, it's been a very, very big fight between us and Raikkonen for, well, us, Raikkonen and Ocon really, for most of the race. We're having to be very delicate on our ERS usage as well, because if we run out of ERS, that's going to give Raikkonen a very easy time trying to overtake us. And we're putting all the overtake on that's physically possible, and we just about squeeze him out there again. We go very, very wide into this corner here, which allows Raikkonen to close up to our gearbox, but the overtake button is just about keeping us ahead for the time being, but I don't think it's going to be long until he's going for another move on us, as he does here. And we get a little bit closer than we were trying to, and as you'll see in a second, as we come across, we do actually break a little bit of his front wing on the left there. So yeah, we didn't get any penalty for it though, so not too much of an issue for us, but you can see that he's already over a second behind now.
Tyre condition is still looking good.
And that is going to be no good for him, I'm afraid, as we go wide again on that corner. We've caught up to Ocon a little bit now. That's not because we're fast, it's because Jeff told us a little bit earlier that Ocon actually has a problem. So Ocon having a problem has allowed us to close up into the DRS zone of him now. So we are using the DRS. We're not using the overtake just yet, because even though I possibly could have overtaken him on that straight, I wanted the DRS on this straight. And as you see, we go for the dive bomb on the outside of Ocon, but we actually completely outbrake ourselves and lock up, and that allows him to go ahead of us again. So we're going to have to save a little bit of overtake and try again, which we do manage to do. Going into that corner, we lock up again, but this time we managed to out-traction him and keep the position. At this point, with Ocon with his problem and Ricciardo 20 seconds ahead, I'm fairly confident P14 is where we're going to finish at the end of this race, to be honest. Now we've just got to make sure we bring it home. We do have one of the Mercedes behind who's trying to lap us, and that's why you've got the blue flags notification on the top left. And we do just about manage to keep a little bit of speed while also letting him past. And yeah, even though we're on lap 35, because we've been lapped by the leader, this is actually our last lap. And as we cross the line, we finish P14.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Yeah, so we finished P14 and our teammate P19. If you look at the best lap times, we did a 107.449 and Ilot's best lap was a 108.412. So he's just under a second slower than us. So this is why I'm really considering just changing a teammate. Adam says I should stick with him, but I'm not so sure. Standings wise, that puts us 7th in the driver standings. And 6th in the constructor standings. So remember, we were 5th in both of those coming into this race. Rivalry wise, we gained 2, Kvyat gains 4, and that currently puts us 22nd points each in our rivalry. And then acclaim wise, both of us stay the same level, but our team does rise to level 10, which means in the next episode we'll be able to add a new sponsor and start gaining a little bit more money. But thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that fantastic action. Check the links in the description. They're very good. But other than that, that's it from me. Good night.